you doing, y'all? Welcome to Confidence. I'm feeling a little extra confident today. And honestly, recently, I've been feeling real fucking good. You know, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I really feel like all of you should start a journal practice. I know that it's hard to sit there and write, but I'm telling you, it really fucking helps on a daily basis. And even I was reading a book on creativity, and she's talking about in the book how it's really important for your own creativity to even really journal. So there's many, uses for that. I don't even know why I'm going off on journaling right now. There was no point in that. All I'm trying to say is that shit has really helped me out a lot, tremendously. So if you're thinking about it, I highly suggest it. But beyond that too, we got a great fucking podcast. The topic of today's podcast is going to be about letting go of something that you knew wasn't even really right for you. I had a few clients this week that have had this experience. It was actually a guy and a girl. So it's both genders. Everybody's struggling with this. And I thought it was really appropriate. And somebody sent me in the question for it that really sparked all this. And I'm like, damn, people really be feeling this way. All right, so let me tell you what this question is, and it's going to set up the rest of the podcast. But I also have a situation that we're going to tackle after we go through letting go of somebody like this. And we're going to see how the stuff that I'm going to present to you, the ideas that I'm going to present to you today, work with the situation that I'm going to give you. So this is cool. It's going to be like we're going to learn, and then we're going to coach, all of us together. And it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. And then I also have a voice question for the end of the podcast. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. Let me tell you what this, somebody said to me. I don't know the girl's name, but this is what she said. She said, do you ever just get annoyed at yourself for thinking about something that legitimately wasn't going to go anywhere anyways? She said, there's something in me that just needs to know why. Always, even if it literally doesn't fucking matter. So really the preface of all of this is like her being upset at herself for not being able to accept the fact that this relationship she was in didn't really work out. And her thought process is, I just always need to know why. I need to know why this shit fucking happens, even though I know it doesn't work out. That's what's interesting. You're telling me that you know it wasn't going to go anywhere, but you still need to know why. That doesn't really make sense. If you know it's not going anywhere, you already have your why right there. But not a big deal. Honestly, I went deep into this because it's interesting. I had Jay over my house this past week too. And it was interesting because it was something that we were talking about as well. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's not man or woman, right? I think it's both genders. I think everybody in life, right? I feel like your mind always goes to the people that maybe you had the closest thing to a relationship or love. And it's the most recent thing usually in your mind. In my opinion, I feel like that's usually how it goes. I mean, like my mom even said to me, she's like, Chris, sometimes I still think about that guy from back in the day. My mom fucking dated this guy when I was like, I don't know, 15, 16, fucking sus ass relationship. I'm like, Camille, what are we doing? But she literally told me recently that sometimes I still think about that. And I'm like, that was really interesting to me. And again, back to the conversation with me and Jay, Jay's talking to me about, the thoughts that he kind of has about his ex. But it's funny because like me and him are both sitting there laughing in the living room. We're talking about how these girls in our life, like we know that they're not the thing for us, but it's just sometimes you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you think about like, what if, what could I have done better? Or I don't know, what if we had another shot? And honestly, to preface a little bit, I do think a lot of that is maybe potentially ego. And what's cool about this question too is I'm going to give you some soft advice and then I'm going to give you some of the hard stuff right after. So we're going to get into it. All right. So let's talk about the reasons why I think it's so hard for people to fully let go of people, even when they know that it wasn't the right thing. So here's the first reason. The first reason is familiar feels safer than the unknown, right? The unpredictability can be scary. So essentially what it is you're clinging on to the past. And the thing is, the past. You've experienced this person. You know what they are. It's familiar to you. And I think what happens is is a lot of people, we're scared of unpredictability. That's the thing that we're trying to get rid of anyways, right? Think about it. Most people run to comfort. Most people run to certainty. Even if that certainty is not the right thing for you, it's so much easier to be with that certainty than to deal with uncertainty. So I think for a lot of people, when, again, they're going through a situation where it didn't really work out, and again, you could know the reasons why it didn't, but at the same time too, it still feels like, damn, like, well, at least I had that, right? At least I know what that looks like. At least, for a little while, they were showing me some good energy and good vibes, right? A lot of people, we just hang on to that story. We hang on to the story of what was because we know what it is, because unpredictability is fucking scarier. The second thing is we have a tendency to romanticize the past, right? It's like sometimes our memory, it really only replays the good stuff. You forget the shit that you didn't like. That's the craziest part. It's like when we're in the actual relationship, it's so much easier for us to realize why the relationship wasn't it. But I think it's way harder when we're out of the relationship. And then looking back, we always look back and think, wow, maybe it wasn't so bad, or wow, maybe it wasn't that crazy. You literally forget about the amount of anxiety that you were dealing with. That's what's crazy. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of people, you are experiencing a lot of hardship, a lot of up and downs. But that's the thing is, I think what happens is for a lot of people is you hold on to those ups. You don't really think about the downs. And here's the thing too. I think we put our happiness or our memory of happiness into that person, right? Oh, when I was with that person, I was happy, right? Or I was happier. Because that's the other thing too, right? Is like you're in this new place where you're single and you're by yourself and you're alone. It could look a lot better when you look back. Again, you're like, oh shit, but when I was with them, at least I had them. At least I had those moments. And it's almost just like you are putting this happiness in the box of that person, right? Just this person that used to be. But I want you to ask yourself, are you open to the possibility of happiness from something else or somewhere else? You have to kind of rebrand where your happiness is coming from in your life. Because for a lot of people, they really do equate happiness to a relationship. They really do equate happiness to being with somebody, right? Like you kind of walk around all day thinking to yourself like, oh man, things would be better if I had my person. To me, that's a very shallow view of happiness, right? We have to expand our palate. Right? It's like only saying that our happiness comes from chicken fingers. You're like eating like a child. You know what I'm saying? Like your kids order just like mac and cheese and chicken fingers. And it's a very limited palate. And when you don't have those things, right? Are you going to be unhappy? And it's the same thing with relationships. If our happiness is really only a relationship, first off, this is how we pigeonhole ourselves. How the fuck are you going to hold a boundary with anybody if you're essentially putting your condition of happiness onto the relationship? But to my point, expand your palette, right? Happiness can come from so many different things in your life. Get happiness just from waking up that day. Get happiness from the little processes of your day. At the beginning of the podcast, I was talking about how I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling good. And honestly, I haven't touched a relationship. I haven't even really dated much. I here and there, a couple of bullshit things. And again, I'm open to the possibility of that. But it's really crazy how, honestly, I'm not joking. I've truly been happy and confident. And I think it's because, again, I've found happiness in things beyond a relationship. I found happiness in me sitting in a coffee shop journaling. I found happiness from good books. I found happiness from hanging out with my best friend and just chopping it up, smoking a blunt. That's happiness to me. Happiness to me is going to play softball. It's playing volleyball. It's going to the gym. It's listening to a fucking banger song in my car, driving, windows down, doing whatever the fuck I want. It's also doing things that are uncomfortable. Something that I've really been trying to implement in my life is taking some time for myself to do something random. Like once a week, I've been reading this book called The Artist's Way, and it talks about taking an artist date, but I've kind of combined it with kind of the idea of self-love. And what I challenge you on top of the journaling that I want you to do is I challenge you to 2 hours a week, take yourself on a date, and it could be anything, right? I want it to be random. I don't want it to be something that's within your routine. And no one else needs to be involved. We're not talking about another person. I don't care actually if you're in a relationship. This is something that you do solo. It is with nobody else. And you go and you do an experience, whatever it is, just by yourself. I think for me this week, I'm going to go get a massage. I don't know. That's what I wanted to do. Hopefully it's a happy ending because I feel like that'll be funny. I'm looking at some VIP massage parlors. I don't really know what's going to happen, but like something like that, go outside, I was talking to some girl and she's like, yeah, sometimes I drive to a place and then go for a walk. And I was like, that's fucking genius. I should like drive to a location where there's people and just go on a walk. Why not? Go try a weird ass coffee shop. Go take yourself on an adventure. Go vacation by yourself. Again, that's a drastic one, but you know what I'm saying? You could do little ass things that don't even cost any money. But my whole point is we really got to develop that relationship with ourselves and expand our happiness palette beyond just the relationship. And the crazy part is your happiness and your joy, it doesn't come from the other person anyways. Like, yes, it feels good when you have that stability in your life, right? And that consistency of another person. But imagine if you can give yourself that type of security. It really is a blessing and it's beautiful. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, I don't think you guys realize, like, I feel incredible. And here's the thing, it took me a while. I mean, go back and listen to Curtain Call. You know what I'm saying? Go back and listen to I'm Sorry, right? The end of last year when I was not feeling great about myself. And I'm putting all this energy into the idea of a relationship. I'm forcing things. It took me a few weeks, right? Almost a month now, I would say, since then. And I'm just telling you, it's just like, it's a huge difference when you allow yourself to, again, find happiness beyond a relationship. Like, I haven't even been focusing on the dating part. And I haven't even, like, there's people I've dated and I'm like, oh, they're cool. And like, I might follow up, but like, I've really been to myself because I'm challenging myself to not need that in order to feel good about myself. And honestly, if you know that you're a person that really hasn't felt good on their own without a person, I would challenge you and say, try to build a life and a routine for yourself where you can find happiness in the daily small things. That's what it's really about. It is, again, finding joy in just the life that you're creating. Figuring out what it is that you care about. Visualize the life that you want to live. And then go fucking do it. Actually do it. But yeah, biggest thing is, again, this goes back to the point number 2, which is like, we romanticize this past as if it was just so amazing. Again, you don't even recognize the feelings that you were feeling in those moments. For me, I'm lucky to even have a podcast where sometimes I could even go back and listen to how I was feeling in my mood. I also track my mood every day as well. But it's crazy because, maybe I thought to myself it felt safer to be in a relationship or have that security with that girl, right? But in reality, like, I'm way happier now. Honestly, like really in tune with myself. And that's what I challenge you to realize is you are going to be happier if you challenge yourself to face the unpredictability of what your life looks like without that person. So 1 and 2, right? The familiar feels safer than being unpredictable. Number 2, we're romanticizing the past. Number 3, your perspective does not line up with your ex. And I think this is directly related to the question where you said the part where Liz was like, I need to know why. That's the reason that I get stuck is that I need to know. And I think this is what happens for a lot of people is the perspective of your ex is different than yours. So I'll give you the example of my client this week, the girl, right? So she was talking to this guy 2 months, again, a lot of chemistry at the beginning, whatever, you guys get it. And then he started fucking, treating her sus. Actually, I think from the jump, he kind of gave the indication that he wasn't necessarily looking for something serious, but then he switched up and said he was looking for something serious. And then he was treating her right for like a whole month. He was hanging out with her every day. You guys get it. Classic love bomb. And then the whole second month was just like turmoil, back and forth, inconsistency, hot and cold. And eventually she finds out that he's still in love with his ex. He was still talking to her the whole fucking time. And then eventually he dips on her for the ex, right? What ends up happening is the guy goes out and him and the ex end up not working out because of the same reasons, because the ex finds out that he's sleeping with a bunch of other people. And then he turns around and makes a story up about my client that she was the reason that it didn't work out with the ex. And now he's not talking to my client because she ruined his relationship with his ex. Do you see how fucked up that is? Right? So now again, right? So we just talked about your perspective does not line up with your ex. Now my client came to me and she's like, well, what's really hard is like, I'm honest, I'm real. Like I showed up for him. I cared. Like, how does he think that like I am the problem? How am I the problem? And that's the problem too, right? Is like, you want to try to line up your perspective with that person that's fleeting you. And again, this is a situation where she knows it doesn't make sense for her because she knows that this guy is not capable of something real, but she still can't get over it, right? Because she still is struggling to accept it. But that's the problem too, is I think what happens is you want that person to see things the way that you did. And honestly, what I really think it is like you want to feel validated that you mattered. You want to feel validated that the way that you saw things was the way that things were. But the problem is you need to bring that validation for yourself. You're not going to get it from the other person. And that's the problem, is we were in relationship with that person for a long time. So we feel really close to that person. So we want them to understand. We want them to see it the way that we see it. Of course we do. I mean, think about any of the situations you have been, I have been in, I'm sure, right? It's like, we want our ex to realize, number one, what they lost, right? I hope they recognize how good of a person I was. We all probably fucking sit here and feel like that, right? If only they would have saw it. But that's the thing, is like, you can't get that validation from them. You have to trust your inner self. You have to trust your inner genuineness. You get what I'm saying? And what happens is, again, is we sit there and we feel bad about ourselves because that person doesn't see it that way. But why do they need to see it that way? And something that we really need to do or get better at is we need to understand that multiple perspectives can be true. They're living their truth. And yes, maybe it's so far off what maybe you feel the truth is, but that is also reality as well. I mean, I think about my situation with, the previous one where, obviously she's going through her own anxiety. She's going through her own perspective of the situation. I'm not right and she's not right. You know what I'm saying? It's not like one or the other is right. And that's something that we need to be okay with. And this goes back to you needing to understand the why behind why this didn't work out. The problem is you're never going to get to that. Because until you're able to accept the fact that there could be multiple perspectives on a situation, you're never going to actually move on. You're never going to get a true why. It's like one of those like weird, you guys ever seen like that movie like Vantage Point, where like they do a movie where like they show like the same scene but from the eyes of like 8 different characters? Do you understand that? You get what I'm saying? So that's what happens a lot in relationships too, is like we have a perspective on the way things shaked out. They have a perspective on the way things shaked out. And the problem is we want to convince the other person of our perspective, when in reality, both perspectives can truly be right. From the way that they saw things, from the way that you saw things. So I guess my whole point is sometimes your perspective is not going to line up with theirs. And what they're telling other people and the way that they're portraying the story, guess what? You can't control that. You can't tell them otherwise. And here's the thing. It's like you wanting to fix the reputation between y'all, or you wanting to change the perspective. To me, I feel like that's ego. You won't allow yourself to look poor to this person, first off, who treated you probably not that great, again, according to yourself. You got to be able to let that go. What is that really about at the end of the day, right? Because if you knew yourself that you're a genuine person, that you're a loving person, that you showed up the right way, why do you need their approval of that? Why do you need them to validate the fact that you're a great person and a great catch? And that's what this is all about to me. At the end of the day, the hard stuff that I was going to give you is this, is like, to me, that's ego. I challenged my client immediately on the call and I said, why do you need him to see that? You know, why aren't you willing to accept the fact that, yeah, the reason that he doesn't talk to you anymore is because he's unwilling to take accountability for his own shit. Why? And you need to realize that. That's what I told her. You need to recognize the reason he's not talking to you is because he threw your ass under the bus in an attempt to get his ex back. Yeah, maybe he doesn't really care about you that much. And I know that probably hurts a little bit. But if you know you're a genuine good person and you've shown up that way, you don't have control over the way that that person views it. You don't have control over the way that that person took it or ran with it or talked about it after the fact. You have no control over that. And you wanting to get that validation, to me, that's ego. If you, like I said, if you were truly grounded in that opinion about yourself and you truly believe that about yourself, you wouldn't need your ex to see it the way that you see it. You would just be true and genuine to the way that you saw it and you'd move on. Right? And that's the thing is like, you know, you need to bring peace to that. And so, you know, the action item that I actually gave her this week about this situation was I made her write a letter of forgiveness to him and to herself. And she was like, that's really fucking hard. She's like, she's like, I don't want to do that. I was like, well, this is the first step. And here's the thing, maybe you don't fully believe some of the information that you're writing, but it's a good first step. And that's what I'm trying to tell you is like, can you bring peace and forgiveness to somebody that you felt did you wrong? And to me, that's the level up. That's how we actually accept and let go of these situations. But here's the other problem too, is again, the part of forgiveness for yourself is also very important. So, cause that's what happens. And here's number 4, right? Bro, it's human to care about somebody. It's human to love somebody. And sometimes, guess what? Love's unexplainable. The care that you have for some people is unexplainable. And regardless of the fact that they weren't the right fit for you, regardless of the fact that the value differences or the way that they treated you, you still cared. And you need to be okay with being human. You need to be okay with the fact that you gave a shit about somebody that maybe wasn't right for you. And you need to be okay with that. You need to say, hey, to talk to yourself. It's okay to care. It's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to be upset that it didn't work out. And that's what I told her. I was like, forgive yourself for that. Forgive yourself for showing up for somebody that didn't show up for you. Because it's human. Because it's human to care about somebody. It's human to show up for people that don't treat you right. It is. So that was the whole purpose of the exercise, right? Was show yourself forgiveness, accept the fact that, you know, you showed up in a relationship that you saw the red flags and you continued to move forward and you knew, like, because he was giving her signs, he was saying certain things that he wasn't ready and that he was still hung up on the ex and she still moved forward, right? So she has guilt, right? She's a lot of guilt. Why did I move forward? It's okay. The reason it's okay is because you're a human being. And there's reasons that we do the things that we do. And for her, a lot of it is because she was lonely and she does want that connection. And I tell you guys all the time how important it is that we don't allow that to be a factor of moving forward with somebody. If somebody is showing us red flags and bad energy, sorry, don't move forward. You know what I'm saying? Because this is going to be the result each time. But again, don't feel guilty either. You're a human being. Sometimes you're going to eat the Doritos. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're going to be on a diet and you're going to cheat. What are you, an asshole for that? No, you're a fucking human being. And it happens the same way in relationships. Sometimes we see the ice cream. We know it's not good for us, but it feels good in the moment, right? I want to fuck. I want to get my nut off. Or, hey, I'm really fucking lonely and this person is giving me a sliver of attention. I might take that, you know? You're a human being. You were hungry, right? And this is what, I also gave her a different example of that. I was like, I was recently watching the show Fallout. By the way, fantastic show if you guys are into TV. It's on Amazon Prime. Why am I advertising that? Anyways, I just thought it was great. But there's a moment in the show where, now the whole premise of the show is that the Earth is, in the middle of nuclear warfare, right? And so it's the aftermath of that. So there's radiation everywhere. There's radiation in the water. And the problem is at one point they're walking through the desert and there's a barrel of water, but she knows that there's radiation in the water. She knows she's going to get poisoned. But what happens? She's so thirsty from walking around without water, she has a choice. She's like, fuck, like I am so fucking thirsty. And at one point she just says, fuck it. And she drinks the water. She knows there's radiation in there. She drinks the water. So why'd she do that? She knew that there was radiation in the water. She was thirsty. And I think that's a really great example for the reason that a lot of people get into some poor relationships is because they're struggling and they're not feeling good within themselves, right? You're feeling lonely. You feel like you want a partner. And sometimes what happens is that person comes along that you know is not really that good for you, but it just feels good to just have something, right? I need that, right? Just a little connection, please, right? It's hard to stay really disciplined to knowing what is not right for you when you're starving or when you're thirsty. So that's why I want you to really forgive yourself and accept yourself when you do make mistakes in this game, right? When you do make mistakes in dating. Because guess what? You're a human being and it's hard. And again, part of the reason I'm having her write this letter of forgiveness is she needs to give that to herself. She needs to say, hey, I accept you. You made some mistakes, but that's okay. You're learning from it. And also, I forgive him as well because he doesn't know any better. He's struggling and figuring it out too. And again, he has his own perspective on his own life. And here's the thing, right? Like, I'm sure he's going to struggle with relationships for the rest of his life because he doesn't really take accountability and he's not doing the work. But here's the thing. We're not here to wish bad on people. That's what I told her too. I was like, I don't want you to wish karma gets somebody. And to anybody that's sitting here listening to this and you feel like an ex did you wrong, I want you to really check yourself. Really. Because being a human being is hard. And a lot of people don't know these things. A lot of people really struggle. They cheat on you not because they just are fucking an asshole. They cheat on you or they make these mistakes because they just don't fucking know better. And it's not giving them an out or an excuse. You have to hold a boundary with those fuckers. But I guess to my point is you also have to recognize that they're just a scared, insecure, ignorant, flawed person. They're not an asshole. They're not a dick. They're not trying to purposely fuck you over. It's just the way that they are programmed. And I know that's very difficult to embody. It really is. We live in a culture where it's so much easier to just shit on people and talk shit and talk down to people. But they're human beings and everybody is doing it the best that they can. So hopefully that helps her accept this situation and recognize, okay, he has his own perspective. Maybe it doesn't align with me, but I'm cool with that. And guess what? I'm a human being as well, and I'm going to be willing to let this go. I'm going to be willing to let this be a learning lesson for me, and I'm going to move on. And that's how I'm going to do it. And this is how we detach ourselves, is by having this type of perspective, right? Let me give you the 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1, recognize that the past just feels familiar. The future is uncertain. Uncertainty is scary for a lot of people. But recognize we need to go into and take the risk. We need to take the risk of the uncertainty because that's where we're going to find what it is that we're looking for. Second part, we romanticize what it was, how amazing things were. Because again, we're starving, we're thirsty. We want connection. We miss them. Third thing, your perspective doesn't line up with them. Sometimes that's frustrating and we want them to see it the way that we do, but we can't. Right? We can't force them to see it. Maybe what we should do instead is make peace with the fact that maybe they're never going to see it the way that we do. Can we make peace with the fact that I'm never going to really understand the full reason things didn't work out because it's complicated, because they had a perspective and I had a perspective. And the fourth thing is it's human to care. Can we allow ourselves to just say, fuck it? This is hard, right? Like, it's difficult when you love somebody and you care. It don't matter what the circumstances were. Allow yourself to be human. Allow yourself to care and give a shit about people, even when it quote unquote isn't right. You're allowed. You know what I'm saying? You're allowed to give a shit about the person that cheated on you. You're allowed to give a shit about the people that have fucked you over. because that makes you human and that makes you loving and that makes you care. But it doesn't give an excuse for you to not uphold boundaries. It does not give you an excuse for you to go back to that person when you know it's not right. That's not an excuse. Because I hear that a little bit too. And this is where we're going to get into the hard stuff a little bit, because I was being a little softy bitch on you right now. Because, the compassion is really important. But now let me give you a little bit of the hard stuff. And here's the big one for me. Here's the number one hard thing, the hard stuff that I want to give you. Sometimes the past can be a distraction from the challenges that you're facing present day. And this is what we're talking about the unfamiliar and the uncertainty. I think a lot of reasons that people go back to their ex, or they're feeling down, or they can't move on, is because they're scared of the present moment. You're scared of what's ahead of you. You're letting fear beat you. You could create a beautiful life for yourself and have a lot of amazing things, but you need to look at yourself. You need to look at the things that you value. You're talking about how, for me, I was running back to these other relationships. Why? Because I wasn't focusing on Chris. I wasn't focusing on the future that Chris wants to create. And what I was doing is I was, again, romanticizing the past about how great things were. What is that really about? Is it really about her? Was she really that great? Was it so amazing that I was really missing out? Or was I really just giving it a fucking excuse to not face myself? And this is the hard stuff I want to give you, is that if you're sitting here ruminating about somebody in your past, I want you to ask yourself, is it really about them? Was it really about how great things were? Or is it about you being unwilling to face yourself? You being unwilling to face the challenges that are presented to you right now. The challenges of meeting somebody new, starting a new relationship, finding happiness for yourself, creating a business for yourself, creating income for yourself, doing the hard, uncomfortable things of life to get the things that you truly want. Because I think for a lot of people, it's that. To be honest, and here's the thing, again, like I said, it's human to ruminate on these people from the past, and it's human to think about these things, but that's not an excuse for not making good choices. I'm just going to say that point blank. It's not. You know what is right for you. You know that person wasn't right for you. It's time for the boundary. It's time to cut that person off completely. And then face yourself. Face the fact of the uncertainty ahead of you. Face the dreams that you want to create for yourself. Visualize the life that you want for yourself and start working. Get up. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to push your ass. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what this is about. What are we clinging on? And then the second thing is, beyond just the fact that I don't think that you're willing to face yourself, I think a lot of it is ego. And I challenged my client a lot this week about that. And again, it goes back to the whole, do you not feel worthy enough? Do you really need this person to validate the fact that you are lovable? This person from your past, especially if you knew the reasons why it didn't work out and you guys were not aligned, you have everything that you need. You don't need anything else. You don't need a further explanation. And to me, the reason that we're sitting there clinging on to that is feeling the need for them to validate our worthiness. Oh, if I just have them, then I'll feel good about myself. I mean, I'm going to look at both me and Jay. We're having this conversation, right? I'm going to tell you from the guy's perspective. This is not about just women. Where, and again, I know for my homie, right? Like, I think the only reason he even thinks about that girl is because sometimes, again, egotistically, he just wants that person to care about him again, just for that reason alone, right? And I think I look at my past situation too. I think it's the same thing. The only reason that I would want that person to come back is just for the ego validation of them coming back, not because it was actually a great relationship, not because it's actually what is truly right for me. It's because egotistically inside of me, there is something telling me that, of course, do we not all want the person that blew us off or didn't give us their energy to come back into our life? And why do we want that? Do we really want it because of how amazing they were? Or do we really want that because of the validation that it gives us about how worthy we are? You know the answer. Because again, you guys know there's reasons it didn't work out. Because if it was truly meant to be in your life, why did it fucking hit the fan every single time? Come on. Come on. It's all ego. It's all us feeling unworthy and not being able to intrinsically validate ourselves, and needing that person's energy and attention to make us feel worthy. And again, the lack of facing ourselves, they're kind of the same thing in a way, right? And again, I don't want to get off the fact that it's human to think these things, right? I'll give you the example of my mom, right? It's like she still thinks about it, right? And she's doing great in her life. She seems focused on her things. But what's happened is that usually what happens too is when you don't have that next step, when you don't have that next person, what does your brain automatically do? Oh, well, but what about them? Like what about the old person that used to be in your brain and used to be in your bed all the time? Think about them. It's really difficult to think about something that you haven't seen or felt yet. How can I even think about the person that I'm supposed to be with if I've never met them yet? But if we really want to get deep, and here's the difference, and here's like the corny ass tattoo that a girl probably has on the back of her arm, which is faith over fear. Faith over fear, baby. You ever seen those girls with the tattoo? It's a faith, and then there's a line, and then there's fear under it. And if you're a guy that you have that, hilarious. But it's, honestly, it's real. I might get the tattoo on my calf. No, I'm just kidding. I'm definitely not getting that tattoo. But it's, tattoo it in your head. Tattoo it in your head, which is you really got to, whenever you're faced with that rumination, right? And this is what I provide to my clients. I truly believe, like on a daily basis, is I give them that faith. I say, hey, no. It's fear is leading you back to that old person. It's fear. That's not faith that you're going to find what you're looking for. That's not faith that you're on the right path to something meaningful and great and even better and even more aligned than that person. It's fear that you're not going to get those things. And that's the only reason you go back. It's the only reason you even think about those things. And our brains are hardwired for fear. You realize that, right? That's the thing is for most people, think about it on a daily basis. Are you really walking around like, yeah, I'm confident, like I'm going to meet the love of my life every second? Or is it like, yeah, you're kind of fat? What is our brain saying to us? Every day I got to fight that inner critic, like every day. Like, bro, I'm just driving around in my car like, do you remember that girl that rejected you in like 5th grade? You're like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Why do we got to bring this up? That's what, honestly, I was driving to the coffee shop today. And literally, I swear to God, it was 3 girls in a row that just didn't give me good energy that I was thinking about. I was like, oh, that girl didn't answer my DM. And I was like, oh, remember that girl? Like, yeah, I think she unfollowed me on Instagram. That hurt my feelings. And then it went to another one. Oh, I saw that girl in the gym the other day and she didn't really give me energy. I'm like, why the fuck are you talking about this? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I asked myself, I stopped myself. I literally said, stop. I'm like, what? What are we talking about here? But that's what I'm trying to tell you is like, this is where mindset work really comes in. You guys want to know why the journaling is important. You guys want to know why the reading is important. And you want to know why your environment is so important. This is the reason. Because our brains are hardwired for fear. They're not hardwired for confidence and for risk taking. They're not. So you got to have fucking mechanisms in place. You got to have mindset tools ready to go at a notice. For me, when I'm having those thoughts, what happens? Chris goes into mindset mode. Poof! I knock that bitch out. How do I do that? Deep breaths. I was like, that's just a story. I was like, I remind myself, you are confident, you are worthy. There's a lot of people that really love you. Focus on those people. Mindset shift. Bam! Then what do? Walk in that coffee shop. Boom. Feeling like the hottest motherfucker in there. Drink my coffee. Wham! Fuck these hoes. That's what I say to myself. And then I go on TikTok, scroll. I feel like shit again. Why am I comparing myself? Shut off TikTok. Pwah! Fuck you, bitch. Stupid phone, stupid comparison, stupid ego. Journal, gratitude. You know what, Chris? You have a blessed life. I'm back. Boom. See what I'm saying? It's a daily battle. It's a battle. But these are the tools and these are the things that we need to think about if we're going to be successful. Like I said, it's, even on the macro level, on the micro level, right? Macro level, big picture. Know that you're going to find what it is that you're looking for, right? Remember faith in the final goal. And again, having that faith on the micro level meaning on the moment to moment level, right? The hour to hour level. You got to have mechanisms in place to shift your mindset either to neutral or to positive, either one that works for you. But we cannot sit and stay in the negative. We cannot sit and ruminate about the why it didn't work out with our ex that treated us like shit. You have your answer. What are you talking about? Remind yourself of that. Give yourself that perspective in the moment. And then let it go. All right. Let's get to the situation. I'm going to read it out to you. And, we're going to use what we just learned to figure this out. All right. So some girl DM me. And if you guys ever have questions, you could DM me or, I don't know, do something, send a pigeon. I try to answer as much as I can. She wrote a really long fucking novel. I'm going to summarize. Long story short, she was in a relationship with some guy for 2.5 years, good experience. But the other person was in a place in his life where he believed that he needed to do other things, right? In dating. Essentially, he wasn't in the place of his life that he felt like he wanted to settle down. AKA, we have a good relationship, but I don't really want to just sit in this, right? So they end up breaking up, and then he tries to get her back. Then she obviously, you guys, girls, you get it. You guys go back. He changed. That's great. He changed. No, he didn't. So he doesn't change, same thing, right? Because that's what happens for guys, right? Think about this. Me and Jay were talking in the living room about, oh my God, it'd be nice to have the girl back. And what would happen? If the girl came back into our life, me and him would both date the girls for like 2 months and be like, this is the reason we don't like you anymore. Poof, kick them out again. So it's the classic cycle of like woman wanting man to change, man knowing the reason that he doesn't really like you that much, causing a ruckus in the relationship, him wanting you back because he's creating the fantasy in his head, girl expecting guy to change, guy doesn't actually change, and then they have the back and forth forever. When we need to just realize that if something is not working, it is not working. But anyways, we're going to keep going. So he was giving the bare minimum at the end of the relationship. Classic, right? Because he's checked out. So she still thinks about it and it's hard for her, AKA what we're talking about right now. She's seeing the reasons why it's not working out, right? She's seeing the cracks. But at the same time too, again, what's happening? She's ruminating. Oh, but he was my lover boy. Whatever you guys do and you think. And that's what she said. My mind only repeats the good memories. She even said that in the text situation. That's funny. We just talked about that. Look at that. See, life's coming full circle for all of us, baby. So her question is, why do men or people in general, or people at a certain age, she's a little younger, don't know what they want or how or why they want? That's what she said. She said, don't know what or how or why they want. And how can we react to that? So essentially she's saying, if somebody doesn't know what the fuck they want, what do we do? Now, here's the thing. It's funny. It's like, how do you react to that, right? So use what we're talking about here. What do we need to do? We need to shift the perspective away from the way that they're showing up, and we need to shift a perspective onto what are we trying to create? What are we trying to manifest and visualize? What do we want from our life right now? She even said, should I ghost him? Should I unfollow him? Am I immature? Should I call him and ask for an explanation? Funny. We're just talking about this. What explanation? You have it. What do you mean? What are we talking about? But yes, long story short, I think the part that confuses her, she said, is that he sees the bigger picture, meaning that he loves me, and he sees me as a future wifey, but he wants to meet new people. And she's like, it doesn't make sense to me. So again, it's everything that we're talking about, right? Her perspective of it is like, but I love you and we love each other. Why not? His perspective, well, I just kind of want to like see and do other things. Again, perspective mismatch, right? And what is she trying to do? She's ruminating on why he doesn't see it the way that she does. She's not willing to accept the fact that they just have different perspectives on it, right? And then the other thing too is she talked about romanticizing the past. And I'm sure she's also feeling like, what? It's pretty hard to think about somebody else in my life because I've already had this experience with you. The unfamiliar or the uncertain future. What does a future really look like without this person? See, we're hitting all of the things in this one. I knew it was going to be a great situation, but let's answer some of her questions, right? She's like, how do I react to that? And I was talking about how you got to think about yourself, right? Think about your perspective, validate yourself. You know that you want something real. This person, while he's telling you, yeah, maybe in the future or whatever, the fact of the matter is you're not accepting the fact that he is not ready for what it is that you want. You are not willing to accept his perspective as at face value. You want to understand further, but there's nothing to understand further. There's no additional explanation needed other than the fact that he's telling you that he's not ready for that, or he wants to explore other options. And so if that's the case, you need to hold boundaries to what it is that you want. And if you want something beautiful and you want a great relationship, guess what? If he doesn't want that right now, then he's not in alignment with you. And so the way that you should react, in my opinion, is, yes, hold a boundary. I mean, here's the thing. If you guys are still talking, I would communicate to him and say, hey, listen, like, I appreciate this relationship. I think you're great, but we just don't see things eye to eye. I respect the fact that you want to do other things, but at the same time too, I know that I want something real right now. So our values and our perspectives don't align. I'm at peace with that, and maybe not really underneath, but I'm at peace with that, and I need to go find that for myself. I need to shift my perspective into the uncertain future. I need to be willing to face the unpredictability of life without this person in my life. That's the truth for a lot of people in a lot of situations. I mean, take my client that I had, right? It's like, what do we need to do? We need to accept that this person's not in alignment with you. He doesn't want what you want. We need to forgive ourselves, and we need to get going. We need to get the move on. We gotta expand our palette. What else in life is going to bring us joy outside of this relationship, right? We got to create something beautiful for ourselves. We know what it is that we want, but you need to have the faith that you could create that for yourself. You need to believe that if this person is not choosing you right now, it doesn't mean that somebody else won't. You're going to find something even better, even more aligned, but you got to believe that. And it's funny is when we lean into our beliefs and we accept that, it's funny how the people around us start to then sometimes lean back into us. But what's really scary about this situation is you've already done that. And in my opinion, right, when you have a relationship, and she mentioned like them being a little bit younger, and some guy's telling you that he's not ready, like believe him. Believe him. He doesn't view you like that right now. And he's saying that you're the future wifey, but I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like that's his own fear too. And I'm going to say this from a man's perspective. Because again, let's go back to me and Jay, we're having this conversation, right? And we're talking about the girls that we like, we'll think about every once in a while. But again, how if they really came back, is it really going to make us happy? And to be honest, for a lot of people, the cold, hard truth is, I think when you aren't together like that, and honestly, actually, let me not say this. Because he's a little bit younger, I think it is potentially possible that you guys can grow and re-find each other later in life. I don't want to say that. I do feel that if you dated somebody for a long enough time, though, and you know who they truly are, and you guys broke up because you didn't see eye to eye on things, I'm just such a big believer that that's never going to change no matter how much time is apart. Now, again, you're saying that it's a good relationship and he's just in a time of his life that he wants to explore. I actually do feel like there's maybe some validity to the fact that, maybe you guys could end up being together later down the road. There could be some of that. But my whole thing is I'm not hinging my bets on that. I'm not hinging my visualization of what I want my life to be like. You know what I'm saying? You got to go out and explore that too then. You got to go figure out what it is or the person that actually wants what you want right now, because he's just really not that person for you at this point. And again, you don't know what the future is going to hold, because if he's going to explore other people, what's going to happen? He's going to date around. He's going to meet new people. Maybe he's more aligned with the next person. What are you going to do? Sit there with your fucking watch out being like, all right, I'm going to wait. Come on. And this is what I'm trying to tell you about life in general with relationships. Like, to me, when things end and it's rocky, at some point we got to put it to bed. And we just got to accept what is in front of us. And I know it's really hard because the uncertainty of knowing where that next person is going to come from is very difficult to really accept. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens. There's a process to accepting that. We're going to be in denial. We're going to be looking at the past. We're going to be, again, putting the rose-colored glasses on. But truth of the matter is as you get older, you start to recognize when something ends and something dies and it doesn't work, typically that's it. And we got to be cool with that. And again, if it's truly meant to be, let it be that, right? Again, that to me is something that would happen years and years down the line. You don't even, to me, that's what I'm trying to say is like, I don't even want to put that in your mind, because really what's more important for your mindset right now is not the fantasy that you're creating about how you guys are going to end up back together in 5 years. And what's a better belief is, hey, right now we're not aligned. I have goals. I have aspirations for what I want to create, and I'm going to create that now. I'm not going to wait until somebody's ready. And you got to have that perspective, because again, what's the alternative? Again, waiting. For what? And how attractive is that to somebody else? You sitting there being their puppy dog. Oh yeah, go ahead, go date other people. Are you fucking nuts? Come on. We got to have more self-worth than that and more self-belief than that. So number one, no, I don't think you should ghost him, because I don't think it's necessary to do that. I think you should be honest about a boundary. I think you should unfollow him after you set the boundary, because it needs to be no contact. It needs to be an unfollow. It doesn't need to be a block, but it needs to be an unfollow. No more seeing their shit. No more interacting with somebody that you're broken up with. What are we doing? You're never going to move on from somebody if you don't cut clean contact and stop seeing their shit. Again, why are we signing up for that? It's not immature to protect your peace. It's not immature to cut off somebody that is not in alignment with your future vision. So yeah, I don't think there's any more explanation really needed on his side, and you just got to accept what it is. And again, to me, I just gave the steps: boundary, unfollow, move on. As hard as that really is. All right. You know what? I thought I was going to do the other question, but I think that's a really great stopping point. I was going to talk about, you know what? Actually, fuck it. Fuck it. We're going to do the voice question just because I think it's cool. And just give it a little, I want to throw a little sprinkle in here of like some, forward thinking things. All right. Come on. Let's do it. Let's just do it. Come on, Chris. All right. Come on. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to shift gears for a half a second. All right. And this is just going to be a random one-off question from my friend. She sent it to me. And it's talking about girls approaching guys. So let's hear it.
Okay, I have a question for you. How would you as a guy feel if a girl approached you and asked you out? Maybe not like asked you out and made all the plans, but it's just like, hey, would love to hang out sometime. Or like, what's the best way to approach that? And like, would you be attracted to that? Meaning like, am I being too much in my masculine if I were to do that? Or would that be hot? Like, would that make a guy feel comfortable? I'm curious to know your thoughts.
So point blank, and this is what I told her too. I was like, I think that's great. And I think more women need to be approaching men. Just to be real. Why are we not creating that connection? You don't need to make the plans. You don't need to even really do anything besides start the conversation. As a man, I'm not asking you to, again, get the contact information and set up the date. All I'm saying is, if you as a woman, you see somebody you find attractive, why are you not approaching that person and creating the connection? It's up to him to take the ball and run with it. You're not in your masculine for approaching a guy and just saying hi. And this is one thing I told her as well too, because she was talking about like making the plan and things like that. And even like walking up to them and being like, hey, I think you're hot. Like, think about this. I don't even think you need to do that as a woman, right? I don't think that you need to like approach it in that fashion. I mean, you could. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think every guy on the planet, if you walked up to him and you told him that he was attractive, I think every single guy would love that. And we wouldn't find it, whoa, oh my God, that's too masculine. We would not think that at all. That is false. That is not masculine at all. But I think it would be is if you went too far, right? And again, not like, again, you'd be looked at as masculine. And again, I don't even think this is necessarily a terrible thing, but I'm just saying best practice. I think best practice would be just going up and creating the conversation. Just like I would give advice to a guy about that. Think about this. If a guy approaches you, is like, hey, I think you're hot. Like, give me your number. Whoa, chill out. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's too fast, right? We're going for the contact information too fast. When really what we need to do is just create the connection, right? If I'm going to approach a girl, which I have multiple times in the gym this week, bitch. And I've been solid. I've been pretty successful. But what I will say is you go up and you just start a conversation. It's not about getting the end goal of the contact information. What you really want to do is approach and start a convo and just keep it light. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, hey, like, I think, my name's this. What's up? I thought you're really cute. You could do something really light. It doesn't need to be so abrasive. Or, hey, like some girl approached me in the gym one time. She's like, hey, I really like your tattoos. Boom. What happens? We get into a conversation and it's up to me to set up the plan or to figure it out. Honestly, if you're a guy and a girl approaches you and has a conversation with you and she approaches you out of the blue, if you don't recognize that as a signal, like, first off, how fucking naive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know when a girl approaches me, especially in a place like the gym where it's just like random and she just starts talking to me, I know that there's vibrations there. And again, it's one thing. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say it's every case, right? Now, let's say you're like putting weights away and she's like, oh, you using that? That's different. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is if you're just standing somewhere and they just start talking to you about like life, not if they're talking to you about the environment. You get what I'm saying? So, and again, the opposite of that is true too. It's like, if you're a woman, go do that. And again, you don't need to as a girl, my advice would be go up and just start that combo. And again, talk about him, right? Don't talk about the environment. Like, don't make it seem like you're just doing it because you're there. But no, it's not masculine to approach a man. I truly just believe it's just about creating connections. And again, I do think a lot of women miss out on great opportunities with men because they aren't shooting their shot enough. Like, I get that it's scary because it's scary for guys too. And that's what you don't recognize is, like, for most dudes, like, they feel weird about approaching girls. They do, because here's the thing too. There's a lot of guys that feel like they're being creepy when they do that. So there are some really great guys that just have that little bit of fear of saying something to you. But as soon as you say something to them, they'd be willing to open up and say something. Now, again, I'm not saying that men shouldn't approach, right? I'm not saying that all women should approach everybody everywhere, but my whole point is why can't it be even? Why can't the responsibility be 50-50 for both parties? If you want a connection in your life and you're a human being, go make the connection. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. And I'm saying do it in a way that's friendly. Do it in a way that's flirty but light. It doesn't need to be aggressive. It doesn't need to be down your throat. Just go say something to somebody. If you find them attractive, that's all I'm saying. Create the conversation. And where it's supposed to go from there, just let it go. And I do feel that the guy does need to be the one that closes the deal though, right? Ask for the contact information or ask to see you at some point, gets the Instagram, whatever it is. But as a girl, free reign. What are we doing? Have some fun with it. Go up to attractive guys that you think are hot. Say something. And then let the guy drive. So that's my 2 cents. I don't think that you're in your masculine. And I think, honestly, girls should do more of that. For real, because you'd meet so many more other guys and great quality guys that you like in places that you care about. All right. If you ever want to work with me, you know where to find me. Fantastic podcast today. I hope you guys are doing amazing. And keep it rolling. We're just going to keep building our strong sense of self. And yeah, like I said, if you do want to work with me, fucking apply. I'll reach out to you directly and we'll kick some fucking ass. We'll get this shit figured out. We'll get you going in the right direction. All right. I love you guys and I'll talk to you soon.